Congratulations, you sold your house. I love that. Yay! That always feels so good. There's a few steps to get through from A to Z when the money actually lands in your account and the house is no longer yours. Let's talk about that A to Z and figure out what we've really got going as it relates to earnest money. Earnest money might have a different name where you live, but here in Greater Cleveland, in Northeast Ohio, we call it earnest money. And what does that mean? Remember back in the day when you were a renter and you had to put down a deposit to hold the apartment? That deposit is the same equivalent of earnest money. It is an amount of money that the buyer places in escrow with a neutral third party that gets held and goes towards their down payment, proving that they are earnestly planning to buy your house. Sellers have a couple things that I always think are interesting. One is that if the deal falls apart for any reason, not really any reason, our contract provides for two reasons. Our contract provides for inspections. Deals can fall apart based on inspections. We've got another video for that. And deals can fall apart if the buyer doesn't get their loan. I'll make a video on that too. But what I really want to tell you is that if the deal falls apart for one of those reasons, the loan or their inspections, guess what? I am sorry, you do not keep the earnest money, Mr. or Mrs. or Ms. or Miss or whatever seller. You don't get the earnest money. The buyer gets their earnest money back. They put that money down because they were earnestly planning to buy your house. And for whatever reason, it didn't work out. They get the money back. It is theirs. Now, to get the money back, you will both have to sign a mutual release. It is really a painful thing to have to sign a mutual release. I get that. It doesn't feel good for anybody, but you will need to sign that mutual release anyway to get the house sold, which you do want to get your house sold, right? Eventually, you'll have to sign that mutual release and they will get their earnest money back. Now, interestingly, you can Google this. It's true. If nobody signs a mutual release, let's say you decide not to move. If nobody signs the mutual release, guess what? The earnest money still will go back to the buyer after 2 years. After 2 years of just sitting there, eventually the money will go back to them. I want you to think really hard about earnest money and how much you're going to ask the buyer to deposit to purchase your house. It's very typical here in our area, again, Northeast Ohio, Cleveland. It's really typical to put down 1%. Now, I'll do the math with you in 1 second, but I just want to make one little plug, which is if you're getting your house ready for sale and you need that checklist, of how to actually get the house ready, like you're looking at the earnest money video before you got your house ready, don't worry on that. But just go to shoshanasocher.com/staging so that you can get the free PDF download of all my staging tips just to get your house up and ready. Because then you're going to get it on the market, get it in contract, and then the buyer is going to need to deposit their earnest money. I do want to say something really important, which is that as a licensed real estate agent, it is our duty to collect the earnest money. Now, if you represent the buyer, the agent that represents the seller then has to turn to the other agent and say, did you collect the earnest money? But Mr. or Mrs. Seller, or Ms. Seller, as we said before, I want you to make sure that earnest money is collected, or at least that they've asked for it, or at least that it's deposited before the inspections come on. When you read through your contract, don't get scared. I know it's lots of little words in there, but the contract says that the earnest money is to be deposited either immediately or within 4 days of forming an agreement. And it is crucial, really crucial, that the earnest money get deposited. You know it, and it sits there in the title company in a holding account called an escrow account to be used towards the buyer's down payment so that when the time comes, there's some money tied up and we know that the buyer is earnestly planning to buy your house. But as I said before, if you're putting the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart, or your chickens are hatching before you've laid the eggs or whatever it is, be sure to check out that staging checklist for your home at shoshanasocher.com/staging. And if you're thinking, like, what should I do here about this earnest money thing? It seems very technical. Don't worry. Let the real estate professionals handle it for you. We've got you covered. I just want to make sure that it gets collected. Oh, when we were talking about 1% and what that number is. So let's say you're buying a house for $100,000. That means that the earnest money deposit is $1,000. If you're buying a house for $250,000, your earnest money should be at a minimum $2,500. Do not let the thing happen where somebody's buying a $700,000 house, let's say it's yours, and they offer to put down $500. No, that's just goofy, because anybody who could really qualify to buy a $700,000 house can put $500 in escrow and then walk and not care about their money at all. I want you to have enough money deposited in that escrow account that is serious enough that the buyer won't just turn and flee. I want it to be something that the buyer has deposited that hurts just a little bit. Not a lot of it, because we want it all come together in a win scenario and make this good for everybody. So while we're making it good, remember to get your house good. Grab my staging tips at shoshanasocher.com/staging. And let's just get this house sold for you. I know you can do it. I want the earnest money collected. I want the house in great condition. I want you to get a prompt and quick contract. And I want you to march towards closing in a fabulous way so that you can get onto your next part of life and good things happen to you every single day.